Good morning. Hey, thank you so much for in this impromptu sit down chit chat here at the Microsoft 365 Community Conference. It's the last day, so I think our voices are all a little tired, but we're going to struggle through it. But I thought we would sit down, have a conversation just about what we've seen this week, what we're seeing as far as trends in technology. Everybody's favorite word I learned yesterday, anytime someone says co-pilot, you have to take a drink of whatever you have. So I just said it.
Oh,
No.
you're
Much needed coffee, thank you. It would be an great after 5 game. But yeah, let's introduce ourselves. Michael, we'll start with you.
So my name is Michael Pisarek. I am a former Microsoft MVP, not anymore. Not anymore. CEO and janitor of Orchestra Software. Been involved in Microsoft 365 and Microsoft ever since I landed here in Canada from Australia. So,
You're in Canada?
well, not here in Canada, here in North America. I don't want to say anything about Canada,
I was worried for a
51st
minute.
state or anything. Let's not go there. But been in the space for about 17 years. So really looking forward to the chat.
Excellent.
Stephanie Donahue. I'm the U.S. Modern Workplace Practice Lead for Avanade. I am a Microsoft MVP in Copilot, M365, and Regional Director as well. Thanks for having me.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks for coming. Yeah, thanks for having me. My name's Amy Dolzine. I am a Microsoft MVP in Microsoft 365 and SharePoint and Viva Engage. And I am currently rolling out Copilot to my firm, EY. Several thousand licenses, let's say that, tens of thousands of licenses. And it's quite a big challenge, and I'm learning a ton along the way. And I've been in this space a really long time. I've been an MVP for 10 years. Amazing. And I'm Joy Apple. I'm the Director of Success and Enablement at Orchestra. I've been in the Microsoft space for just a tick over 18 years. It hurts to do that math sometimes. But yeah, it's definitely an interesting time right now, but it's exciting too to get to, and I think we all have this passion. It's really exciting to see people and technology come together and do really cool things. And I think we're seeing some really cool things starting to come out of this. Let me think. I'm a 4-year MVP awarded. So yeah, that's been very exciting. But definitely let's talk, because it's been an interesting week. There's been a lot of content, a lot of information. I would just love to hear, like, what's been the one thing you were like, oh, this is a big deal, whether it was a customer conversation, an attendee session.
Where to start? I'm excited about the idea of the frontier firm that Microsoft is really leaning into right now. That was the keynote this morning. Thinking about the idea that we're all trying to do more with less right now. We're all working long hours, back-to-back 30-minute meetings all day long. Well, maybe not everybody, but that's my life, right? And the idea of having Copilot and agents now to be able to go complete some of those tasks or make my life easier, to be able to generate a virtual team feels like such an exciting concept, to be able to think, wow, I could double the size of my team without, maybe a much lower cost to that. So I guess, from a theme perspective, that's what I'm most excited about and where Microsoft is taking things.
Amy, how about you? Yeah, again, where to start? These conferences are always so overwhelming. I guess I'll just put down like one moment that was just kind of like, oh yeah, right. I was in a session where they were talking about building a declarative agent, and there was a way to put the instructions in a way that, and they're like, if you do this, it just works. Nobody really knows why. And I'm like, that is amazing, because honestly, like, we are all learning this together at the same time, and all of us feel like we should know what's going on, and we try our hardest, but like, it is happening so fast, and the underlying models work in ways that we just do not fully grasp yet. And it's just, I don't know, I thought that was just mind-blowing that somebody stood up there and said, if you put the instructions in this way, it just works. Nobody knows why. That is wild. That's totally wild. Yeah, something about the algorithm just recognizes this way to do it better than anyway else.
That's really interesting because we hear it all the time. And we make the jokes too. Because they're like, oh, is Microsoft making Skynet? And Christian Buckley joked in the AMA at our booth yesterday about, I always say please and thank you to the AI overlords. AI overlords, I love you. He jokes about that stuff all the time, but I think we're definitely in a position to kind of drive that comfort level when we hear things like that. How are we going to then navigate that conversation with customers? Because like, oh, if they don't know how it works, what is it going to do? It's like, hey, it's humans programming that. We're programming that. I don't know.
It's programming. It's programming.
Yeah, but once it starts doing its own thing, that's interesting.
Well, back to the saying thank you and please and all of that to the overlords. Microsoft had always said originally that was a good idea, right? That you would get better answers if you did that. Now that, we hear, I think it was maybe from the ChatGPT side of thing, they came out and they said that it's costing billions of dollars or something. It's costing us a lot of money to add those additional things. So now I'm torn. I don't know what to do.
Characters who you are when no one's watching. And it's always bothered me when people are like rude to Alexa, and all that. I'm like, why do you feel the need to be mean because you can, or it doesn't matter? So I'm like, I don't know. I think I'm going to stick with it, and they can just figure out how to parse that out on their side. I think that's their job.
Wait for the cost to drop. We'll feel less bad.
Michael, what's been your big
I think it wasn't one moment. I think there's just a huge general sense of excitement around this technology. And I don't think we've seen that before in such a state. I mean, the move from on-prem to the cloud was, I think, much more gradual. But with Copilot, over the last, it's only been 2 years maybe, but there's a real sense of excitement from, users, organizations, people that we were speaking to, people at the booth also. They're excited. There is some trepidation, but they're really starting to dip their toes in the water, or really starting to go quickly into this technology. It's an interesting world because it's changing so fast all the time at Microsoft. And even this week, trying to explain the concept of agents to people.
Yes.
And what that was and how they could help. And now, instead of just one UI to do it all, you have these kind of agents for much more targeted use cases. I think that resonates with people a lot more, especially those that might have a little bit of trepidation of dipping their toes into this space. But just a ton of excitement. It's a really fascinating time. And like you said, no one really understands the what and the how quite yet. So there's an element of trust there, which I think is a good thing.
What's different though is that usually when you roll something out at work, it's very work specific, right? So you get training from work. Nobody's going to go home and learn about Workday.
Yeah.
Right.
I hope.
Well, maybe they do. Maybe they do for fun, but I would think most.
Do they have Workday MVPs?
Yeah.
Maybe they do.
Oh, well, maybe they do. Maybe they do.
I don't know.
I'm sure there's a small handful. For the vast majority, right? This is very different because we have people coming into work that are already kind of familiar with prompting. They're using it in their personal lives. And they're almost in some ways ahead of the organizations that are rolling this out. And so what it reminds me of is that, Michael, you mentioned the push to the cloud. And when we first were rolling out OneDrive, I was working with an organization who was telling me, this is a director or VP or something. And he's like, oh, they're fine. They're using email and they're adding the attachments to the email, right? And everything's fine. We don't need OneDrive. And a couple weeks later, come to find out, he said, Dropbox reached out to me and we have over 100 accounts that were unmanaged and unprotected and they want me to buy Dropbox, right? So he's like, it sounds like we need to go ahead and move forward with OneDrive. And it was because they weren't providing a solution. And what he didn't know at the time was that those attachments that they wanted to send were too large because the email team had put a policy in and said you can't attach large, right? They're trying to get the storage size down. And they were working around it and they were finding a solution because they didn't have one.
Yep.
And he was just unaware. And so I feel like we're doing the same thing. If you're not rolling out Copilot in a secure way, then you're running into those scenarios where people are just they're going to go to ChatGPT or they're going to go to some other unprotected solution because they're trying to get their work done, and they know the power of the tools. And so it's a really interesting balance of trying to roll something out in a strategic way, in a careful way, with all the governance and policies in place. We have to do it quickly to keep pace with the people that are doing this at home already and know how to use the tools.
Mm-hmm.
It's really interesting.
Yeah, I think from a training perspective, for me, this is technology you need to be trained on and learn, and it has to be driven by the organization, because like you said, for those people that understand it personally, they are light years ahead. And I think from an organizational perspective, I don't think this is like just rolling out an intranet or even rolling out OneDrive. There's so much to prompting. It's very different than search. It's very different than anything else that we've done before. So I'm hoping a lot more organizations really lean into that from that training perspective and that change management perspective.
I think foundationally, I mean, at my firm, when we, before anyone can get a Copilot license, they are required to take a training course.
Nice.
But it is less about how to prompt. I mean, that stuff is, there's a little bit in there, but it's more about, what is this? What does it have access to? What should you be careful about? Why you should be careful sharing? Why you should be cautious? Why, like, things you should think about around checking its work, where it shows you the 1, 2, 3 of where it came up with its sources. Before you just go on and share that result with somebody, make sure that you also validate as a person that that's the right source for that information that Copilot found. So it's sort of, we call it the responsible use of Copilot, that you have to take this course in order
Fact check.
to just to be able to start to use this technology. And then we'll train you on the how to prompt and all that kind of stuff. But before you do that, you really need to understand what this technology is.
Well, it's a real danger to businesses that if there are people that think they're going to use that create functionality from scratch, right? Like, I was working with a customer who brought forward a whole governance plan around Power Platform. And I looked at it and I was like, you can kind of tell, right? When it's generated all from AI.
Yep.
And it's not
Oh boy.
fact checked enough, right?
Yeah.
And so you have this possibility that people present themselves better than they are. They're not the SME, and they bring things forward that are, like my teenagers, confidently incorrect. And so they, you really have to, as part of that responsible use, really lean in on people and say, look, you have to be a SME before you publish this content. Like, use it to ideate, use it to create outlines, use it to get yourself started, but you've got to take it to somebody who actually knows and understands what that is so they can proof it for you. Because, I talked with, I think it was a CISO or a chief scientific officer who's very much worried because, he works for a company that relies on their research and development and their thought leadership. And he's like, I don't want people to be lazy. I don't want them to stop thinking. We have to think. That's our job here.
Yep.
So you really have to be careful when you're rolling it out to use it, and be conscious of your company culture, and make sure you're driving those things home. Like, how do we use this the right way so that we don't jeopardize the value of our organization in the process?
Absolutely.
I had an interesting question in the Hoova app this morning. And I hopefully was not confidently incorrect because I answered it before I had coffee. But so David Francoeur and I presented on oversharing. Of course, we were on theme, so it was the oversharing circus, right? And the question, it was really good. It was like, but how do you define oversharing when it's a situation where they're not actually, as they put it, getting the document like they would in search? They're getting information from things. But I think in their mind, oversharing is, I did a search or I went to a library and I now have a file and I can do things with that file. I was like, that's a really great question. I kind of went through that whole thing where, oversharing is the fact that maybe they shouldn't be able to have access to the data that's going to answer the question that was been presented to Copilot or inform a presentation or a report. I said it, so we should all drink. But so I posted it, and then I went back and I said, but keep in mind, our job is to fact check the information that Copilot, I'm going to have to do doubles now, that came back. I said, they go back and check those references. I said, when they do that, they will have that more traditional, hey, search brought me this file. Now it's there. So now they have the whole document, as they put it. They could save a copy. They could do whatever the permissions on that item lets them do. So to your point, right, making sure that people understand it's your job to make sure. And I think during like pilots, rollout programs, it's almost like a see something, say something. Like if I see something and I know like, oh, that's not okay. I should, now I'm uncomfortable. I need to have someone I can go into and say, I think we need to check something.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And that should definitely be part of the rollout program, is like, what is the policy? What is the process for someone to report an issue and to help them feel comfortable doing so? Like no one's in trouble.
Yes.
We just need to get this resolved.
Yes.
I think even organizationally making the decision around, are we okay with content just being created through AI? Are we okay just to take that and publish that out? Or does there have to be some sort of review process? Or because I think you said, Amy, like Steph, it's very obvious when someone has gone and put in a prompt and just slammed it in, copied it into Word, and away you go. I mean, you see that on LinkedIn all the time. You can see the structure, you can see the posts.
Long dashes,
yeah. But in organizations, I wonder if organizations are thinking about that. Are we just okay? Even the information might be correct. Is this how we talk about things? Is this the tone that we want to use? So I think training people on that aspect as well, like ChatGPT or, Copilot could be a great start, but you still should go back, check it, maybe even rewrite some of the things or get it to rewrite some of the things. But rather, I just see a world where every piece of content sounds exactly the same.
And it all starts with, I hope you are well.
Oh, God.
Yes. Hi, Stephanie.
I
hope this finds you well. I was wondering.
I don't do that.
No.
Yeah, I know. I asked somebody about that. That apparently is, so I asked one of the people I work with who just graduated from college, and she said, when we were in school, our teacher told us to write that at the beginning of every email is, I hope you're well. So I'm like, oh my God, the model was trained on all of these.
By your teacher.
by like this generation that grew up saying, I hope you're well in your emails. I was like, oh, I just never got to, I'm Gen X. Like, sorry. I got to get to the point.
What do you need? What can I do for you?
Yes.
Good day.
I said good day.
Well, I'm curious what your thoughts are too. We've been focusing a lot over the last 2 years, I think, since all this stuff has started hitting in M365. And it's been very exciting because it's finally the governance geeks' time to shine. We've been trying.
Finally. It's been so long.
It's been 84 years, but we've been trying so hard. Like, just do it. Oh, we'll do it later. We'll just migrate everything and then we'll go clean it up later. And it's like, no, you won't. Don't lie. You're lying to yourself and you're lying to me.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the CEOs, the CIOs, the CTOs, they're like, we got to get this cleaned up. This is chaos. Awesome. So we've been talking for a couple of years now, very happily about do this, do this, do this. This is what you need to do. This is what you need to do. What are you seeing when it comes to the habits or even the company cultures of the organizations you work with? We know what they need to do, but what are some things that you think, stop doing this? Just stop. Things need to change. Stop doing these bad habits.
The one thing that sticks out to me is what they actually took away from us forcefully. I was definitely a violator of the share with everyone button.
Because it's easy.
Because if I got to share it with 6 or 7 people, I just don't want to put the 6 or 7 names in. I don't. I'm lazy. I got things to do, right?
There.
They took that away from us. And at first it was jarring. I was like, this is so painful. And I realized the other day that I just do it now out of habit. You just share with the specific people that need it. And I thought, well, this isn't so bad. I've kind of adjusted, right? So I feel like that's maybe like the one setting that if I could recommend to anybody, like that's the one you gotta go for to change that habit, because I would have never changed. They could have told me 1,000 times not to share with everyone. I'm going to use it every time.
That's why governance has to be automated, because we just won't go out of our way to do it.
Yeah.
I think we've seen a lot of organizations be much more open to deleting a whole bunch of crap that they're storing for no apparent reason. And we've seen that a lot with our customers, but
Yeah.
it used to be, no, we need this stuff, the cafeteria menu from 1975, really important.
Here.
Who's going to, who knows? But I think on the AI side, trying to convince people that the smaller you can make that haystack, the easier it is to find that needle. For us, we've been talking about just get rid of content. You don't need all this stuff, unless, of course, you've got, some sort of regulations. But we've seen that a lot where organizations are much more willing to archive or even delete a lot of this content and make sure they have really strong curated content that can then be used as a basis for some of these Gen AI activities. A few years ago, it was, no, we have to keep everything. Any reason why? No, just in case in 20 years' time, someone wants to go and get the cafeteria menu or some RFP response, which was never answered.
Meanwhile, legal departments around the world are having nightmares of what might be discovered one day.
No, I think governance points are great. From what firms should stop doing is thinking that everybody's going to want this technology. Like, oh, I'm just going to, if I offer these licenses, everyone in the place is going to want them. Everybody is going to want to use this thing, and they're just going to know how to use it. To me, Copilot is the biggest adoption challenge that an organization is going to have. People don't know how to use it. They don't know how to trust it. They don't know how to think critically about the answers they're getting out of it. So I think if I could tell an organization, like, just stop thinking that everyone's going to want it. Stop thinking that it'll be easy. I'll just buy the licenses and then hand them out like candy, and then my employees will be happy. It's more, they'll not go to it. They won't know how to use it. They don't know what they're doing. It's an adoption challenge more than anything else. So stop thinking about it as just give it away. Everyone will love it.
And it's not just a training too, right?
No.
Like, that's the thing.
Right.
We really push the idea of change enablement because it's not a one-time deal. You can't send someone to a 1-hour training session and then think that you're going to have business transformation in your organization. It doesn't work like that, right? You need that incentive to continue to go back, even down to, we've heard customers say, I put a sticky note on my monitor to say, remember to use Copilot, right?
Yeah.
It changes, like, it's not natural because you've worked I've been around for 25 years in this industry. Like, I've got my habits, and Copilot wasn't one of them.
Right.
And it's taken some time, right? I've used it now a little over 2 years, 2.5 years, right? And it's finally part of my workflow, right? But it took a while to really find what are the times that I really want to use it? When's it going to be useful for me? And as it's improved, of course, then I found more and more use cases. But I think it does take that time, and you need to reinforce, right? Is it office hours? Is it, promptathons, whatever it is, right? That you have, that you can help them learn, get better, and remember to go back and use it.
Yeah. Or maybe they got their license like a year ago, and Copilot has evolved leaps and bounds.
Yes.
Like, Excel is so much better than it was. Like, the PowerPoint narrative builder, like all of that. If they saw it a year ago and thought it wasn't useful, it's hard to get them to go back. Like, they get that first use and they're like, oh, that was dumb. I don't need that thing. Like, no, you need to go back now and try it again.
Well, and some of the things initially I thought, well, why would I have it write me an email? Like, I know how to write an email, perfectly capable, right? Been doing that a long time. But then what I really like about it is I played around with the coaching.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had this executive that I had to email and had to convince her of something, right? So I really spent a lot of time on my email articulating exactly why I needed this change and all of that. And, the coaching came back and said that you should really help this person feel like they have more control over the decision. And here's the changes you should make.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
And I thought, well, that makes sense, right? So I made the change based on the coaching. I accepted the change. And that executive emailed me back and was effusive. Thank you so much for giving me control about this decision. No one else has come to me this way, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, cheat code.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, I was like, that's amazing. Thank you. It also tells me I'm demanding occasionally, so I got to watch that.
Maybe
when I
less
ask for things, yeah.
steamroll, more
Maybe I'm just direct. I definitely need coaching.
10x.
So
Well, we at Orchestry so we have fun naming conventions at Orchestry. And we use Opolis a lot for our internal things. And we do a brain dump Opolis once a month. And Michael, you led one 2 months ago, a month ago?
A couple of months ago, I think. Yeah.
It was the other day, right?
Yeah.
Time has no meaning.
I know.
And he talked about the advantages of AI, things like that. And we were just, you know, you just chit chat with the folks you kind of work with cross org, and they were like, I didn't realize, oh, this is really a big help. And someone else put their hand up and said, I asked for the license because I didn't have it. And oh my gosh, it's such a brain changer, because I thought, like you with the email, I already know how to do my job. I don't need this thing. I'm fine. They were like, oh, it's not that you don't know how to do your job. It's like, how do you use the tool now to assist you to be almost like your your digital assistant to do these things, to coach you, to just take it to that next level. They were like, this has been a game changer.
Yeah, it isn't always about doing something faster or being more efficient. It's also about being more effective. And I find that more often than not, Copilot's helping me to shape that communication just a little bit better. Like, it'll sound just a little bit better. So the quality, the output is a little bit better than it was. It may have taken me exactly the same amount of time it would have taken me to write that thing, but the quality of the output, having thought iterated with Copilot on it first, gives me a better outcome. So it's like a multiplier in your ability to get things done.
Well, so that's an interesting space too, right? Because not everybody's getting Copilot.
Right.
And so, you know, you're competing against some people that have it, right? And some that don't. So is it unfair for you to not have Copilot, right? Because you were saying, well, not everybody wants it or needs it necessarily. But for those that don't have it and don't have a choice to have it, right? And they're up against people that do have it. How do we feel about that?
Yeah, I know.
Democratization of AI.
Yeah, I feel that, I mean, in the role that I have where I'm rolling out Copilot to the firm, I feel so passionate about it. Like, I want everyone to have this thing because I want them to be effective and I don't want them to be left behind. I feel like if we don't embrace this now and don't lead the way with our, like, internally and then with our clients, we'll be left behind. And then the people that we want to attract to our firm will not want to, they'll not want to come because they'll go to the place that does have the tools that they need to get their jobs done more efficiently, more effectively, and to be better. So I get like really, people are like, why are you so passionate about this? Like, I want everybody to have this because I want them to be their best. And this is the tool, this is a set of tools that you can get now that will make you just a little bit better. And it's only going to continue to improve. And so if you don't learn it now, catching up later is going to be even harder.
It reminds me, not that I was necessarily around when this first started happening, just to be clear, but it reminds me of that shift when computers started entering offices. Right? Some places were like, yes, this is the way to go. And others like, why would we do that? My husband used to manage a distribution, the transportation for a bread company. Just leave it at that. And they had an office like somewhere in Iowa. This was like only 10, 12 years ago, that was still doing things with pen, paper, and fax machines. I almost died. It's like, how can that be? But, you know, there were a lot of places that were like, oh, but then slowly it was like, you're getting left behind. And it feels like that's that shift now. It's like, this is the place that we are going.
When you have to lay that foundation, right? And what I talked about earlier with the frontier firm, and if we're going to have these hybrid virtual agents that are part of our team, you're not going to get there as fast as everyone else if you're not even doing baseline Copilot, right? So it's the crawl, walk, run mentality. And if you're not crawling right now, you're not going to be walking next year or whatever the time frame is, right? But as Microsoft continues to push into the space and make more and more available to you, you're going to find the organizations that pick it up are going to be sprinting and they're going to take off way ahead of their competition. And that's really, you know, if you're not seriously looking at this technology and understanding it, even if you're like, I don't know that I get the ROI right now. I don't know that we're going to see that ROI right away. It's there long term. This is a marathon, not a sprint. And some organizations can afford to do it right now and some can't, and I get that. But I think if you can afford to do it, you should be doing it.
I think it's going to be not if they're using AI, it's whether it's company AI or shadow AI. just like shadow IT.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because I mean, we see a lot of, even at Orchestra, we've got some people using ChatGPT, some people using, Google Notebook LM, some people using Perplexity, some people using the Microsoft Toolkit, but maybe not quite yet. But I think in a couple of years, it's going to be a lot like the Dropbox thing, Steph, that you mentioned before, right? It's going to be like, we're trying to do something, our organization doesn't allow us to do it, so we're going to go and use something else. I'm sure that's going to start to happen. Maybe not quite yet because this technology is so new, but in a couple of years, like you said, Amy, people are just going to be left behind without this technology. Yeah. So if your organization doesn't offer it, they're going to go and get a $20 a month ChatGPT license and start uploading and cranking your docs, organizational documents in there and using those same capabilities.
Well, actually, you reminded me of a story. I spoke at the Utah user group, I think, or M365, an event in Utah last year. And sitting around the speaker room, the guy was saying he had to do a briefing for the entire company. He pulled up a screenshot of internal, confidential, proprietary information that he found on the World Wide Web.
Oh, wow.
And he said, you know how this got here? Someone's using ChatGPT or something like that. You're doing work in something that's not sanctioned. And I mean, there's two sides to that coin. Number one, well, I don't know. You really can't say we're going to block all abilities for any employee to access AI in any way whatsoever, right? That's really not feasible. Therefore, give them the proper tools and the guidance and the confines. Find out what that need is. But yeah, that was like early days, right? And it was like, oh, what a horrible feeling. So yeah, that shadow AI, it's already a reality. It can be mitigated for sure, but it's scary. I think it's scary for a lot of companies to go, this is an investment. This is going to take time. Big wheels turn slow. So the payoff won't come next week.
Well, and how many organizations just crammed all of their stuff into the cloud during COVID, right? And nobody's gone back or had the time to go and do that due diligence around data governance. Sure. And the tools, to be honest, to date, haven't been there. Third party, yes, right, absolutely. I don't, sitting here.
Thanks, Steph.
Right, I know. If you didn't have an orchestrate tool or something along those lines, like the out-of-the-box stuff from Microsoft has not been sufficient, right? It really hasn't. And it's come a long way, and there's more coming, right? Which is really going to help customers out. But I think that's been one of the pain points, is just there's not been an easy button. And, for our customers that, maybe they go buy a tool or they run a script, and then what? You have the report, and now you have to spend all this time and energy to go, are we keeping this? Are we not keeping this? Who's got the right permission set and all of that? And it's a lot of work. But we're telling customers, like, that doesn't mean you can't roll out Copilot. Do it in parallel. Try to hit your most secure content first, right? All the stuff that's really important, go do that first. But run your proof of concepts, run your pilot groups, go get familiar, and like we said earlier, right, have a way to have them report if there's something that surfaces.
Definitely.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're about there. Just closing thoughts. I'd love to know if you have, it could be an AI hot take. It could be just words of advice, but wrapping it up, what do you think are just some words of wisdom we could drop as we close this out? You are very wise people. Don't look at me like that. Michael.
I would say kind of what Steph was talking about. I don't think you have to wait to get ready for Copilot, because you never will be. It's a long term. It's not a project. I think it's a longer term initiative, but it shouldn't stop you from starting to investigate and use these tools. And I still think the best way to get started is looking at those high value use cases. That's why I really like the idea of agents. Curated experiences for particular types of activities, RFP agents, research agents, whatever that is. And especially I guess what we've seen anecdotally for people that are a little bit more hesitant of that technology, that scoping it down to a particular use case works really well from the end user side. It can also work really well from a security and a compliance side, because you can much better control that content. So if you're having trouble getting started, look at agents, start building those, and start using them as a wedge of AI into an organization.
Oh, that's great.
I was going to go into that too, right? Like you stole my thought to it.
Sorry.
But gosh, the high value use cases is where it's at. And I mentioned this briefly earlier, but we're big fans of things like promptathons as a way to get people familiar with prompting. We love to see a mixture of people that are comfortable prompting, maybe IT or other, those champions in the organization that just get it. Mix those with the people that know the business really well, and those pain points. Throw a promptathon or hackathon, and really get them hands-on early, because the more, you can show them functionality and it's not necessarily going to connect. Really get into the use case, and that's when it lands for people and they go, oh, well, I could do this or I could do that. Once they really see it in action in a way that's relevant to them in their specific role. And I think that's really important, in terms of approach, and not just doing that bland training, right? Let's get in there and help them figure that stuff out. And then as far as the agents go, we do the same thing for, Copilot Studio hackathons. Same thing. Get in there, have them build stuff out. Business users can do it, right? They can use that agent builder on the user side. It's amazing to me that it's one of those things that I demo and they're building alongside of me while I'm demoing, and I think it's great. And then IT starts going, wait, how many of those agents are you guys building all at once? Right. That's a whole nother conversation. But yeah, I mean, I think the hands-on aspect is just so important. So, get your security done, get your governance done, your due diligence and all of that, be responsible, but, let it loose in the organization, find those use cases. And I think you'd be really surprised at how fast it goes viral.
Yeah. I think the thing that comes to mind is just remembering to tell leaders that leaders must lead in this. And they must demonstrate to their teams that they're using these tools as well as a way to improve their own work lives, and that they should not be afraid to recognize when Copilot has made a mistake and be like, and demonstrate to their teams that, look, I recognize that this was a mistake, or I saw this and this is how I critically think about it. And being that person that is leading your team along this journey and demonstrating that you're using these tools, like, leaders must push this. It is an adoption tool. Your team will feel more comfortable if they feel like their leader is also comfortable using these tools and will not judge them for using them or tell them that they're not allowed to use it. Just that is the thing that keeps bubbling up in my firm, is that when a leader is engaged and has their entire team using these tools, the whole team learns together, but they also learn from example, by watching their leader do it.
Excellent. I would say yes to all that. Same. Ditto, ditto, ditto. And make sure if you're not ready to do it, it doesn't mean you shouldn't start planning to do it. Like you said, get the security in order, figure out what those processes are going to be, get the leaders out there. They're going to be excited about it, and plan a way to socialize that in your organization. Have, at Microsoft, a lot of stuff you hear, like a champions program. You don't have to call it that, but do that. The Viva platform in Microsoft 365 is the perfect set of tools to help you roll that out, help your company adopt it, and to socialize it. Have a community in Viva Engage that showcases the great prompts that have been created, right? Have moderators there that can answer questions when people have them. I just think that's a great way for the community to grow together. And for anyone that doesn't know how to start with adoption, Jesse, I hope you see this one day. Adoption.microsoft.com.
Right. It is awesome.
It is so awesome. The tools are there. The information is there. There are decks you can download. There's day in the life resources. It's so good. So go there, do that, do the things, be fearless, be responsible, but be fearless. I think that's it. Well, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks
for having us.
Much for coming.
Thanks, Joey.